It was signed into law in April 2023, despite widespread demonstrations across France. But is President Macron's controversial pension reform now in danger? Ahead of Prime Minister Francois Bayrou's policy speech on Tuesday, the reform, which involves raising the retirement age to 64, has been at the centre of political debates. The new finance minister has suggested openness to altering the text.
The Prime Minister will, of course, make a decision and present the conclusions we have drawn from this week's consultations during his policy speech.
The government has been attempting to court some opposition parties, in particular the Socialists, in the hopes that they won't back a possible no-confidence vote against Bayrou. The Socialists are calling for the reform to be put on pause while discussions are held to modify it. The French Greens, meanwhile, are calling for major changes.
We won't settle for crumbs that ultimately concern a few thousand people. We want a strong gesture.
Many members of Macron's party argue the pension reform must be left alone. But some think compromise is needed.
It's clear to me that this reform is unfair, that some of the public are suffering negative consequences as a result.
Final negotiations are still underway, including for the 2025 budget, which France is still lacking as its fiscal deficit widens. Bayrou is set to outline his budget plan on Tuesday in his policy speech. He's hoping to avoid the fate of his predecessor Michel Barnier, ousted at the end of last year after trying to force his budget through Parliament. While the current Prime Minister is attempting to woo the Socialists, Barnier's government counted almost entirely on the tacit backing of the far right, which ultimately turned against him.